And we are going to get started here in just a moment. There's a few more people heading this direction from the other side, but we'll get started here in just a moment. Thank you guys so much for coming out. I know it's a Sunday night. There's probably a lot of stuff you could be doing, so thank you for being here. We'll be getting started here very, very shortly, I promise. All right, everybody hear me okay? Yeah. Even in the back? Okay, super. All right, thank you so much, everybody, for coming out tonight in support of Pastor Billy and Cindy and participating in this wonderful benefit for some fantastic people. When we got our committee together initially and started talking about this concept, we kicked around a bunch of ideas. We had an idea for about 12 different gift baskets, things like that. And I remember thinking, boy, if we can do 24, that'd be great. We have right at 50 silent auction items back there that are available. And so everybody who did that and donated stepped up in a big way. Grocery store in town donated the ice cream. We got bargain rates on a lot of the supplies and things like that. Thrivent Financial stepped up, a couple of $250 donations to cover supplies. The support has been just overwhelming, and we're so incredibly grateful for that. So everybody in here, I can't begin to name all the names of everybody who helped on committees and supported, donated, did things like that. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. Before we get started, I just wanted to open with a quick word of prayer. Then I'll hand things off to Big John Small over here, and he'll really get the ball rolling for us. So, all right, if you'd bow your heads for a second. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much. So much. We're so grateful for the blessings that you've poured out upon us, that we are enabled in turn to turn around and pour out upon Billy and Cindy. Lord, we all know, as you do too, what a blessing Billy and Cindy have been to this church, to this community, and everybody in their orbit. Now, Lord, it's time for us to pay it forward back to them. I pray that we can all step up and continue to be supportive of Billy and Cindy tonight, enjoy a great comedy show, have a lot of fun, enjoy some pie and ice cream afterwards, and may your mighty hands bless this event. Thank you so much, Lord. In your name, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. All right, let's hear for Dave, everybody. He didn't know he was going to do that until just a few minutes ago. I threw him right under the bus, which was awesome. So I just got to say, first of all, thank you for coming out tonight. This is really cool. I got to come to one of the first meetings that they had, and we were talking about having this event, and Dave reached out to me about this, and he's like, oh, we're trying to think of something we could do. And I said, what about a good, clean comedy show? And he's like, oh, that'd be kind of neat. And I said, I know this guy in San Diego. He's a really funny guy.
And I can bring him out here. We did. And I want to say thank you to Main Street Financial for stepping up and writing a check to help make that happen. So if you could make a round of applause for them. Thank you, guys. And I've had a chance to work with Brandon in the past, and then we got to work together Friday night, got to do an event like this in Sioux Falls, and Saturday night, last night, in Sioux City, and then tonight. So you guys, like, we're all practiced up. You get the best of the best, so that's really good. So I got to say, I love this area up here, the music area. It's really cool, and I love that you keep your drummer in a cage, because I've met some drummers. It's probably good. When I grew up in a church where we had a choir. And you know, it's changed a lot, because there's probably some people in here maybe went to church where they had a choir. And about 15 years ago, we were at church, and at the time, that church still had a choir, and I was standing a little too close to the choir, and I was singing maybe a little too loud. And after church was done, the lady grabbed me and said, "Hey, you should be in the choir." And I said, "I probably shouldn't be in the choir." She goes, "No, you're a really good singer. You should be in the choir." She goes, "Now, what are you, a bass or a tenor?" I said, "Probably a tenor, like 10 or 15 minutes late usually." So I shouldn't be in the choir. And my family was notorious for getting to church a little bit late. Are there any folks in here that are usually a few minutes late? You don't have, hey, some are even raising hands. Some are pointing at other people. That's not necessary. No, we were pretty notorious for rolling in a couple minutes late, because I have two kids that just didn't really want to go, and we drag them along. Well, there's one week in particular, everybody was moving real slow. And I said, I am going to make an example. We are going to walk in. I don't care how late we are. We're going to walk in. We're going to sit right up in the front row. And at the time, we lived in Brandon. That's when this happened. So I picked a terrible week to do that. So we come pulling in. And usually when we would get to church a couple minutes late, there were some other tenors there too, some 10 or 15 minutes. They would show up. We pull in. I'm like, we are the latest late people. Like, guys, look, we're the last ones here. Like, this is the first for me. I've never been the last one. But I said, we're walking right up to the front row. We're going to do this. So we come walking in, and we march right up to the front row, and we sat down. And it's not until I sat down that I realized where we were in the message. We're just getting ready for communion. We weren't 10 or 15 minutes late. We were 45 minutes late. That was the week when they changed. It was like winter hours to summer hours. And I remember they were telling us about that. Oh, hey, don't forget, we're going to be starting, half hour early. We roll in 45 minutes late for church. And then my wife and I are sitting there, we start giggling. And when you're not supposed to laugh, that is the worst time, because everybody at church is then pointing at us, chuckling as well. I'm like, well, at least we made them laugh today. That's a good thing. So my wife and I do New Year's resolutions. Anybody make some noise if you do a New Year's resolution? Anybody out here, put your hands together, a couple of you? Do you keep them? Me neither. We try. Not very hard, but every year I make the same New Year's resolution. You can probably tell by looking at me. I try to lose weight. I'm not doing very good. This year, my New Year's resolution, I was like, let's make a lofty goal. I want to lose 100 pounds. And I'm going to stand here right today and tell you that I am only 107 pounds away from that goal. So for those of you not paying attention in the back, I went the wrong way. But I'm not the only one that does that. My wife's, her dad works at a car dealership, and last year, leading up to doing the New Year's resolution, there's a whole group of guys that said, we're all going to try to lose weight this year. So for the first 3 months of the year, we're going to have a little challenge. Whoever loses the most is going to win, and they each put $20 in, so it's $200 on the line. And I'm going, hey, that's kind of cool to win $200 to whoever loses the most weight. Like, I would do that, but then I think, no, I probably wouldn't do that. So when the guy won, he comes in, he's like, oh, hey, I won the competition. They go, oh, that's awesome. How much weight did you lose? He said, I only gained 5 pounds. Everybody gained more than 5 pounds. So then I was thinking, maybe what I need is some technology. Because like the Fitbit, this kind of looks like it. It's just one of those bands. But the Fitbit, I was like, I'm going to get one of those because that'll help me get fit in a bit. I don't know. Maybe that's not why they call it that. But I had one for just a short while. I strapped the thing on my fat little wrist, and about 2 hours later, the band snapped. Apparently, I needed a fat bit. That's not a thing, but it really should be. I don't know why they haven't come up with that yet, like a beginner Fitbit. I used to go to the gym all the time. I used to go like every single day. I would work out twice a day. I would go in the morning, and I would go in the afternoon. That was before I was married. I had all kinds of time. I had no kids. It was just me, and I was bored, so I'd go there. And I was in there. I grew up in Huron, South Dakota. And the gym that I went to was called Adams Gym. And my favorite thing about that is the owner's name was Jim Adams. True story. Jim Adams owned Adams Gym. And I'm in there working out one day, and I was in pretty good shape. And he comes over to me, and he hands me a T-shirt. He said, hey, I want you to wear my shirt. I was like, why am I wearing your shirt? He goes, well, to advertise for me. You're looking really good. I said, oh, thank you. So I don't get that today, by the way. I don't. Maybe like from a rib shack or something, but certainly not from a gym. But I'm wearing this shirt, feeling really good. Then I get married, you know. I don't go to the gym as much. And in Huron, South Dakota, they happen to have the state fair. And I was at the state fair. True story, you can't make this up. I'm at the state fair. I'm wearing my Adams Gym shirt. And Jim Adams walks around the corner, and he comes over and pats me on the belly and says, you should quit wearing my shirt. I was eating a corn dog. I'm like, yeah, it's got a mustard stain anyway, so I was about to quit wearing that. So then we lived in Dakota Dunes, and when we were living down there, we got a gym membership. And the way the gym memberships work, I don't know if it's the same here, but there, you give them your credit card information. They take your money every month, whether you show up or not, because they know you're probably not. So I'm like, what a racket. That's a pretty good system for them. I sign the agreement and say, yeah, I should probably go. So I go and do it. My wife and I, we get the little key fobs. For 12 months, we never went a single time, not even once. Not even once. So we would drive by there, usually like on our way to a steakhouse or something. Like we should probably go there sometime. That works. So just a little tip from Uncle John here. If you have a gym membership, it works best if you use it. Just paying for it doesn't help as much. So you guys familiar with poker runs? You know what a poker run is here? So the reason I ask, I was in Florida, and I was doing comedy in Florida, and they'd never heard of a poker run. I thought that everybody knew what that was, but apparently that maybe is a Midwest thing, or maybe it was just that part of Florida they don't know. But the weirdest thing was then I had to explain what a poker run is. And as I'm saying the words, I'm like, do we really do this? This seems quite odd. Because I'm explaining to them, like, well, there's like usually several bars that are involved, and people go from place to place, and they get a different card. And then at the end, whoever has the best hand wins. And they're like, so wait a minute. So it's like organized drunk driving? I'm like, I guess kind of. But I'm like, it's usually for a good cause, like maybe for the kid that got hit by a guy on a motorcycle that was drunk last week. I'm like, I don't know. But anyway, we were not actually participating in a poker run, but we were at a little bar and grill where they happened to be having a poker run. And this is like 10, 15 years ago. So at the time, my son was like maybe 13. And we're sitting here in this little place, surrounded by a bunch of bikers. And my son asked me for money for the jukebox. And I give a young kid money for a jukebox, not even thinking. I'm sitting in a bar full of bikers at a poker run. And he goes over there for a few minutes, and I'm still looking at the menu. He comes back over and throws the money back on the table, and he goes, what kind of jukebox doesn't have any Barry Manilow? My son's a bit weird. So there was a little biker guy sitting next to me, and he spit beer out his nose when he heard my son say that. The only thing that would have been better, though, is if that jukebox did have Barry Manilow. Because I could just imagine in my mind what that would have been like. That would have been pretty fun. So we actually got to see Barry Manilow in concert. Went out to Las Vegas to see it. My wife is a big fan. My son is a big fan. My daughter and I, not so much. But we all went together, and that was officially the most expensive nap I've ever taken. So my wife nudges me, and I wake up. Barry Manilow is on like a platform hovering right above our chair. And I'm like, hey, how you doing there? And it's nothing against Barry, because I think his music is fantastic. But I can fall asleep anywhere. I have fallen asleep driving. Don't do that. That's a bad idea. I fall asleep at almost every movie. I don't know that I've ever seen the ending of a movie. Like I said, fell asleep at Barry Manilow. But I also fell asleep at Metallica. So not even kidding. And there's probably some video online, because here's how I fell asleep. My wife nudges me. I wake up, and there's like 5 smartphones pointed at me, videotaping me. It's like, look, this guy fell asleep at Metallica. So I was like, yeah, it was a nice show, I think. I don't know. I got a good nap in. But I also fell asleep standing up one time. I was a wedding DJ for like 25 years, and I really enjoyed doing that. But I had my equipment set up, and I was kind of leaning on the equipment, and I literally fell asleep. And luckily, as like my knees were buckling, I woke up. Thank goodness, because it would have been terrible to fall down. So I could kind of fall asleep anywhere. But I quit being a wedding DJ because I realized I was getting too old for that. And I just discovered I am older. There was a movie back in the 80s called Lethal Weapon, and there was one character in that kept saying, I'm getting too old for this. I'm 5 years older than he was. Now, in the movie, he was playing 50, but he was actually only 40. I'm like, I'm older than him. He was too old for that. But here's how I found out I was too old. I was playing music at a middle school dance in Nebraska. And this is a couple years ago. This kid comes up to me and he goes, hey, do you have 50 cents? And I reach in my pocket. I put some quarters over there. And this kid's looking at me like I'm an idiot, probably because I am. And he goes, 50 cents. I'm like, yeah, 50 cents. He goes, no, 50 cents. And I go, is that a band or something? I had no idea. I didn't know what that's what. I'm like, I am way, way too old for this. I'm not going to. So then I decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to play music for a different group. So I booked a senior prom at the senior center. And it was adorable. It really was. It was so much fun. But I'm only like 3 songs in, and I realize I don't know what I'm playing for these guys either. They probably also don't know 50 Cent. They probably refer to him as like 8-bit or something. I don't know. But I'm at this senior prom trying to figure out what to play, and then I absolutely played the wrong song. I played the Hokey Pokey, and everybody put their left hip out. It was bad. It was. That is officially my dumbest joke, by the way. So most of my stuff are true stories. That didn't really happen. The prom did, the hip thing not. When we lived in Brandon, I felt so old when this happened. I go into the post office. Gentleman at the post office said, your daughter was in here today. At the time, my daughter was like 6, but I was thinking, oh, maybe it was a field trip or something. So we're at dinner that night, and I say to my daughter, I was like, what were you guys doing at the post office today? And she said, I wasn't at the post office. And my wife says, I was at the post office today. And I realize at this point, the guy at the post office thinks my wife is my daughter. She's a year and a half older than me. That's not fair. So my daughter, now she's 21. She's grown and gone. But this is a couple years ago. She was still living at home at the time. I walk in the room, and I hear all this racket going on, and she's on her phone. And I kind of watching over her shoulder, and I thought she was playing a video game. And then she pauses it. She's like, what do you need? I said, what game is that? What are you playing? She goes, I'm just watching a video. I said, what do you mean? You're not playing the game? She goes, no, I'm watching somebody else play a video game. What? That's a thing? Apparently, there's many people nodding their heads. Everybody else knew that was a thing. I did not know that was a thing. So I said, you're not playing the game, you're watching somebody else play the game? She's like, yeah, that's what we do. I'm like, why would you do that? And she goes, you guys watch HGTV, why don't you fix your own house? I'm like, yeah, it checks out. You watch Food Network, why don't you make your own food? I'm like, well, I actually do. That's part of the problem. That's where I get my ideas. But then I got a little concerned because my wife likes to watch Forensic Files as well. And usually what happens on there is like we're watching it, and then my wife is like saying to the TV all the things they could have done to get away with it. I'm like, that's kind of concerning. And one is like, oh, rookie mistake. Yeah, he got life insurance and then killed his wife 6 months later. I was like, yeah, that's probably a bad idea. She goes, yeah, you got to wait at least 5 years. I said, how long have I had my insurance? She goes, 4 years, 11 months, and 13 days. That is not good. Anybody else excited that we don't have to wear masks anymore? Make some noise out there. You guys happy? Oh, me too. Oh. I also discovered I read lips. I didn't know that until everybody had their mouth covered and muffled, and I couldn't hear and I couldn't see, and I had no idea. It was tough. It was really Anybody else discover that about themselves? A couple of you? It was really tough. My most embarrassing moment, because I had so many, but the most embarrassing moment was at a gas station in Sioux Falls. I went in to get a roller dog. So you guys know what those are, the gas station hot dogs that just roll there for hours. I probably don't want to know how many hours. I could be the poster child for roller dogs. I don't think it would help them sell more, but it would be a cautionary tale. If you eat enough of these, this right here is what you get. So this happened to be in the wintertime, so I'm wearing like a black jacket and black pants because I don't know why, I wear a lot of black. Then I had a mask. I wore the gator style that you like could just push down, and then when you're ready for it, you pull it up. So I had that thing pulled up to here, and I had a black hat pulled down to here. So I kind of looked like a fat ninja walking in with my roller dogs. And I get up to the counter, and this kid behind the counter is Josh. He's a nice young man. I've seen him there before. And all he could see are my eyes. And then he says to me, what I think he says is, "You have beautiful eyes." I was like, "Thanks, Josh." I was like, "You got good-looking eyes, too." And he goes, what did you say? And I said, "What did you say?" He said, "I said, you have a beautiful night." I was like, "Yeah, you have a beautiful night, too." It's exactly what I said, Josh. Anybody travel when it was like time where everybody was wearing masks? That was a tough time to travel because like nobody was talking to each other except for one person who was on a plane with me. I was flying from Denver to Houston, and I don't know for sure what this lady looks like, but I think she looked exactly like Cardi B, but all I could see was really like from here to here, you know? So her eyes looked like Cardi B, but maybe she wasn't Cardi B, but maybe she was like Cardi C or Cardi D, but somewhere on the Cardi spectrum. And the entire time she's chatting with me, and she's like keeps nudging me and like laughing, and I'm laughing, not really what she said, but I'm laughing at just the whole concept that she thinks I can hear her. So all the plane noise, all the other noise, and I'm just kind of chuckling, and it's not a long flight. But when we get there, my wife, by the way, she's sitting in like the row behind me on the other side of the aisle, so every time I look over at her, she's laughing because she knows what's going on. And she understands that I have no idea what this lady's saying. I'm just being polite. So this goes on for like an hour and a half or however long that flight is. Then we get off the plane or get out of the seats to exit the plane. And Cardi B, Cardi C, Cardi D, whatever, this lady gives me a hug. Because we've been such good friends all the way there. I didn't say a word to her the entire time. And my wife was like, "What is that all about?" I said, "I have no idea. I think I just joined a Cardi cult. I'm not sure. I don't know what she was talking about." So that's still not the worst experience I've had on an airplane, though. This is way before the pandemic. I was on an airplane out of Sioux Falls, and I sit down, and a guy pulls out a little notepad and a pencil, and he writes, "My name is Bruce. I'm deaf," and he hands that over to me. And I think, time to impress. I know how to say my name in sign language. So I point to myself, and I sign John, and Bruce lights up. He's never had a chance, ever in his life, to have a conversation on an airplane. And I don't quite know how to tell him he's not going to have that chance today, because I just gave him all my material. "John, that's it." But he starts signing, and he's going on. He's going to town. He's like semi-pro at this, at least, probably pro. And I don't want to be rude, because I'm like, I don't want to interrupt him. How do I stop him now? It's like he just keeps going, and I keep thinking, I should have stopped him 2 minutes ago, because this is going on for a while. And finally, he stops, and he's just looking at me like he must have asked a question. And I point to the notepad, and I write, "Sorry, all I know is John." And Bruce was not happy. Bruce was not happy at all. Bruce decided, that's it, we're done. So I actually went to a different seat, and Bruce was quite happy about that. So anybody in here wear Crocs? Anybody? Nobody admits. Oh, a couple people admit it. Couple people admit it. So I'm not wearing Crocs right now, but I do from time to time wear Crocs. My wife is not a fan. And I probably should, after last year, I probably shouldn't wear Crocs ever again, because my Crocs let me down big time last year. My Crocs let me down. I ended up with stitches out of this deal. Yeah. So I sprayed down the lawnmower and everything, and everything's all soaking wet out there, and I'm wearing wet Crocs, which are not known for grip, even when they're dry. So I slip, and I fall, and I hit a sprinkler. And there's security footage of me falling, and you see me land, and when I hit the ground, my Crocs fly off. And my wife was like, "We got to find a way to make one of those little loop things, because that's hilarious." But the problem was when I landed, I hit a sprinkler, and I cut my hand pretty good. So, and it quit bleeding right away, and I was like, I think it's fine. My wife said, "You need stitches." And I said, "I don't need stitches. Our neighbor's a nurse. The nurse comes over. Oh, you need stitches." Well, of course you're going to say that. You're a nurse. So I had to go get stitches. Now, anybody in here need stitches before? Raise your hand if you've ever had to have stitches. Okay, so all those hands raised right now, what you guys that don't have your hand raised, what you don't know is they probably know how many stitches they needed. So if anybody wants to shout out, how many stitches did you guys need? Anybody? 7? 6? 70? Can we beat 75? This is like a weird stitches auction right now, isn't it? So that's a lot of stitches. I go in, you know how many I needed? 2. 2? That's not stitch worthy. You know who I can beat in a stitch conversation? Only the person who needed one stitch. And can they even say they had stitches? Because they didn't. They really had stitch. They didn't have stitches. So, again, all I had was 2 stitches. But out of that, I got a fun story, and I got a new gang name. My street name is now Dos. That's Spanish for 2, by the way. I took Spanish for 4 years, and I remember about 4 words. One of them is Dos. And I actually failed Spanish class on my very first day. And there's probably some of you thinking, how in the world do you fail Spanish class? Oh, you just wait. You'll understand. So this is back in the mid-'90s. And for anybody that was around in the mid-'90s, there was a brand of jeans, Pepe jeans. Remember those? I see some people nodding. Yeah, they were stylish. It was a popular thing. Well, here's the thing about Spanish class in Huron, South Dakota in the mid-'90s. You get to pick a Spanish name. And here's what you need to know about me. This is before they diagnosed ADD or ADHD or any of that. Back then, they just called us naughty kids, and I was one of them. I got to sit in the front of every classroom I've ever been in. So I'm sitting right up front, and I get to be the first one to pick my Spanish name. So she says, John, what would you like for your Spanish name? And I go, Pepe. So she goes to the chalkboard, and she writes my last name, small, comma, Pepe. There's a couple people who are already ahead of us here. I'm looking at it going, please, high school students, nobody else noticed this. And a girl who I happened to have a crush on at the time, in the back of the room, she goes, you chose the name Small Peepee? And I was like, oh. Failed Spanish class on day 1. Now, I only had that name for 1 semester of 1 class, but there are some people who I went to school with who to this day, even that young lady that I had a crush on, she and her friends on Facebook, she sent me a message one day to say, I was just thinking about Spanish class, and you picked that name. I'm like, please quit thinking about that. It was terrible. I don't know why I did that. So we've got a really funny guy that's going to be up here in just a moment. I'm going to share 2 more quick things with you here. First thing I'm going to share, my wife and I do a radio program, and every once in a while we have some bizarre stories. There was a story that we read like maybe a year ago, about a guy in the United Kingdom, and you can find the audio on YouTube, it's there. He called, like their version of 911, he called the emergency number because he had a UFO hovering over his house. So that's concerning, so they send the police out, and this guy whose voice sounds like maybe 65, 70 years old, he's certainly not a kid by any means, an older gentleman, and he calls the police concerned about this UFO hovering over his house. As it turns out, you know what it was? The moon. How do you not get around to noticing the moon in only 65 to 70 years? Like, how in the world have you never noticed the moon before? But it makes me feel a lot better when I don't notice my wife's haircut for a day or 2. I'm like, well, at least I know the moon's up there, so I got this covered. And one morning on the radio, like I had already told you, ADHD, ADD, I don't even know what it is, but whatever it is, I know I got it, and my wife knows I got it. And one morning we read a story about the youngest ever member of Mensa. Mensa, for those of you who don't know, is a genius organization. It's like the smartest people in the world. And they accepted a 2nd grader. Now there's even a younger one. Now there's a 6-year-old, but at the time, a 2nd grader. So when I'm reading this story, I said, wow, I'm smarter than some 2nd graders. Maybe I could be in Mensa. And my wife's like, yeah, probably not. She goes, you got a lot of work to do. You should probably focus on that. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna see if I can find an IQ test. She's like, oh, hey, you're really smart. Everything's good. Now let's just get back to work now. So I go online. I find an IQ test. I fill the thing out, 10 out of 10. I'm like, boom, genius right here. And she goes, what's your IQ? And I'm like, it's 10. Wait a minute, that doesn't seem high enough. I said, I don't know what it is. It doesn't tell me that. And she goes, okay, well, you're really smart, so you should probably go back to work now. And I go, I got to see how you find out if you're a genius. So I go on to Google, and I type in, how do you know if you're a genius? Google said, did you mean genius? I spelled it wrong. My wife lovingly points to the screen and goes, that's how you know. Get back to work. All right, are you guys ready for a super funny comedian to come up here and join us? We have a very funny guy. He's one of the founders of the San Diego Comedy Festival. He's been featured on Dry Bar Comedy, so you can watch his special on there. Put your hands together for a friend of mine, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Brandon Young.
One more time for John Small.
Oh, man.
Thank you guys so much for coming out. It's going to be a great fundraiser, great evening. Thank you guys so much for sitting in the front row. You're like the pastor. You don't heckle the pastor, right? Like you're the pastor's. Are you the pastor's wife? Okay, you probably do heckle him then. That's you get a pass. You get a pass on that one. That's fine. I am 41 years old. I am middle-aged. I told it to this friend of mine. I go, I'm 41. I'm middle-aged. My friend's like, you are not middle-aged. There is no way you're making it to 82. Like 52 tops is really about it. You got about 10 years left. It's fine. I'm glad COVID's over. I think we can agree on that. COVID's finally over, right? No, not yet. It is? Oh, you guys think it is. All right, I'll take it. So it got me thinking, so if you get vaccinated, they recommend if you got the Pfizer vaccine to get the Moderna booster. Have you guys heard this, and vice versa? So it got me thinking, back in my drinking days, there's this old adage, it's like beer before liquor. Never been sicker. I think some of you guys have heard of that. The front row over here probably heard about it last night. Anyway, there's this old drinking adage. It got me thinking, which one's beer? Is Moderna beer or is Pfizer? Is it Moderna before Pfizer? Never been wiser, right? Pfizer before Moderna? A lot of concerna. That's pretty sure. Pretty sure. I tried growing one of those chin strap beards, but I had a hard time deciding which chin to put it on. Shows the third one. Guess what I'm trying to say is, you need to lose weight when your shadow starts setting off automatic doors. Trying to get it. How many of you guys work at the Luverne Truck Company equipment? Anybody here work for them? No? Okay, good. I absolutely hate them. No, I'm just kidding. I actually work for a competing company in my day job, so we'll leave that one alone. I was actually here to buy out that company, but so nobody's here for Luverne to sign the paperwork, so I guess they're backing out of the deal. That's fine. That's good. Now, anybody here was a former cheerleader at all? Anybody here used to be a cheerleader? You guys look like cheerleaders, all three of you right here. Yeah, I don't like cheerleaders. I don't like cheerleaders at all. Don't like them. Don't like the three of you, even though you aren't cheerleaders. You look like cheerleaders. Can't stand you three. You, sir, I don't like you either. You're with them. In fact, that whole row can't stand any of you except for that little kid. It's the only, I can't yell at a little kid anymore. I got in trouble last night's show. Yelling at an 11-year-old, so can't do that anymore. And I don't like cheerleaders. Cheerleaders have way too much power, way too much authority. They can get you to say whatever they want, so long as it's one letter at a time. Right? Okay, I'm going to need you guys to be a part of this, okay? I'm going to pretend to be a cheerleader. I need you guys to be the audience, okay? So you guys are going to be the crowd at a sporting event. So I'm going to yell out a letter, and you guys have to shout out that letter, okay? All right. Okay, here we go. Give me an O! O. Give me a J! J. Give me a D! D. Give me an I! Give me another D! D. Give me another I! Give me a T! T. What's that spell? OJ did it! What? Way too much authority. You can't just yell that. You can't just yell things. You can't just conspiracy theories, the earth is flat. You guys can't just yell whatever you want. That's not how that works. You guys are all off the cheer team, by the way. All of you. Oh, man. I've been trying to lose weight. Still trying. I'm working on it. Whenever you try to lose weight, I actually try doing these online exercise videos. I like the online exercise videos because there's always the main instructor guy, right? He's always like, okay, if you can't do what I do, follow Sharon. Right. This Sharon lady is always off to the side smoking a cigarette, eating a cheeseburger. I'm following Sharon. Let's do this. Whenever you try to lose weight, you always tell your friends will always give you the worst diet advice you've ever heard in your entire life, right? I tried telling my friend I was trying to lose weight. He's like, oh, you should do intermittent fasting. I'm like, what's that? He's like, oh, intermittent fasting's great. You can eat whatever you want, between the hours of 10 a.m. and 10:01 a.m. Whatever you want. Another buddy of mine, he created a diet. He calls it the bowl diet. Basically, if food comes in a bowl, you can eat it. Yeah, I've never seen someone eat pizza with a spoon before, but there he was. He's doing it. Originally from a small town in Michigan called Oscoda. It's the appropriate response. It's a really small town in Michigan. You know you're in a small town when you get better cell phone reception from 2 cups tied together with string. The dating app Tinder in a small town is basically the same thing as Ancestry.com. Great, I matched my Uncle Bob again. Not this time, Bob. Anybody here do the Ancestry? Has anyone done Ancestry.com before? Nobody here has done it? Are you guys all related? You guys don't need it? Is that what it is? Is that what goes on here in Luverne, Minnesota? Am I pronouncing that right? I don't know. Anyway, I do the Ancestry.com, and it's weird because I'll get emails from them saying things like, "You've got a match." Like, it's not a dating app, okay? Like, I'm not going to hook up with my 3rd cousin, all right? Knock it off. My wife's my 4th cousin. It's completely fine. It's legal. It's good. It's not true. Oscoda is such a small town. Everything's so far behind on the times in small towns. Like, Oscoda is so far behind on the times that the local movie theater is just now getting that Star Wars movie. Yeah, The Empire Strikes Back. It's a long time. We had one family were Jehovah's Witnesses. It's got to be tough being a Jehovah's Witness in a small town. Not a whole lot of houses to choose from, right? You know, everybody's like, oh, great, here comes Hezekiah again. It's the 4th time this week, Hezekiah. We never got to go anywhere fun on field trips. Like, we never got to go to Cedar Point or Disneyland or anywhere cool like that. Like, one time they took us to a farm. Yeah, made us milk a cow on the farm. Another time took us to a post office. Made us sort all the mail. Another time took us to another school. Made us teach all the other kids. Some really lax child labor laws in Oscoda. My family, we didn't really get along growing up. I know that because whenever we'd have dinner, we'd always eat in other rooms. Yeah, at other people's houses. I was kind of a loser growing up. I know that because I asked my mom to the mother-son dance, and she said no. She took my brother instead. My dad then asked me to the father-daughter dance. We went, you guys, we went. Had a great time. My brother, he may be the worst birthday present giver of all time. Last year, he gave me a burned copy of that anti-piracy commercial. Year before that, he got me a ringtone for my birthday. He got me the theme to Jeopardy, which really wasn't that great because I only had like 30 seconds to answer the phone, you know? At least I always answer in the form of a question. What is hello? So, but round of applause. How many people here got hit with a belt when they were a kid? Yeah. Yeah, you can tell the real people who got hit with a belt because they can't clap because their hands are still sore from trying to block that thing, right? No, my dad used to hit me with a belt, but I always try to look on the bright side of things. You know, at least my dad wasn't a professional wrestler. Wrestling belts are huge, you guys, they're huge. That was stupid, I'm sorry. No, my dad and I, we had kind of a strained relationship. I know that because whenever I was on the playground, a kid would come up to me and say, my dad could beat up your dad. I'd always say, here's my address. He gets home at 5:30. Let's do this thing. Please. Now, my dad, he would not let me listen to Michael Jackson when I was a kid, which is weird, right? So I asked him, I was like, why can't I listen to Michael Jackson? He said, Michael Jackson isn't manly enough. I'm like, what do you mean not manly enough? He said, don't worry about it. You go back in your room, you listen to Queen and Elton John like a man. And then we went to that father-daughter dance right after that. That's when that happened. Now, I wasn't very popular growing up. I know that because on my 10th birthday, I had a party. I invited over 40 people, but only one showed up. Yeah, Hezekiah. Except he was just making his rounds. And that's when I became a Jehovah's Witness, you guys. It's not true. Oh. A friend of mine, she recently changed her name. Her name was Jennifer. She changed her name to Willow, which is unique, right? So I asked her, like, why'd you change your name to Willow? She said, I just really like the 80s movie Willow. You can't change your name to an 80s movie. You're like, I'm Willow. These are my friends Top Gun and Ghostbusters. Like, you can't do that. She's also the type of person who like messes up catchphrases. Like she can't get a catchphrase right. She's always off by a little bit. You guys have one of these friends in your life that just can't get a catchphrase right? She's always like, bye, Felicity. It's by Felicia. It's from the movie Friday. Whatever, 6 of one, half 100 of another. It's 6 of one, half a dozen. Your math doesn't add up. I don't care. Talk to my ham bone. It's talk to the hand. And it's not 1997 anymore. So let that one go. Anyone here have a celebrity crush at all? This cheerleaders, you guys have a celebrity crush? Any of you? You don't have a celebrity crush at all. I beg to differ. You're all lying to me. I'm going to talk to you the rest of the show. You're going to keep ignoring me. I'm used to women ignoring me, okay? I'm married now, but prior to that, trust me, we'll get into that later. Anyone here have a celebrity crush I want to admit to? Yeah, who's your celebrity crush, miss? Russell Wilson, the quarterback, who's married. You can't get with him. He's way out of your league. That's why it's a celebrity crush, guys. You can't get with the celebrities most of the time. Now, I'll tell you, I had a friend growing up. He had really weird celebrity crushes. He had a crush on Ricky Lake, which is very weird, right? Yeah, he also had a crush on the Golden Girls. All 4 of them, you guys. When Betty White died, he was extremely sad. My favorite one that he had a crush on Laverne. From Laverne and Shirley, Laverne. Like Shirley I get, but Laverne, really? It's messed up. It's messed up that you guys are named after that show. That's incredible to me. City. Laverne. I'm sure you guys have heard that millions of times, right? Just shake your head yes and go with me. All right, that's fine. So, are you two together? I'm assuming you got your arm around her. I hope so. I hope it's not like, okay. I hope it's not like an Ancestry.com meetup. How long you guys married, or how long have you guys been married for? 3 years. 3 years. Okay, nobody cares about that. Move on. Where did you guys meet? At a wedding. Nice. It wasn't like either of your weddings, right? That would have been really weird. I was the bride and he was the best man, which is how things worked. That's messed up. Did you guys get married at this church or a different church or not at church? Where? Different church? Is Pastor Billy not good enough for you guys? Is that what it was? You know, had you guys gotten married here, the funds could have gone to his fundraiser, but you know, that's fine. You weren't thinking 3 years ago that Pastor Billy would be in the situation he's in right now. It's messed up, you guys. So selfish. She left her groom at the altar, got with the best man. I just messed up. Maybe Pastor Billy didn't want to marry you guys. Maybe that's the thing. Did you think about that? Didn't think about that, did you? I am married. I apologize, ladies. This is off the market. Not sure why everyone laughs at that. Been married for 12 years. Thank you very much. Yeah, you can clap for that. Thank you. Thank you, Russell Wilson's wife. Appreciate that. Sierra. She's not here. That's who he's married to, right? All right. So I'm married. I used to have really bad luck with the ladies, though. In fact, my friends, they used to call me Duck Hunt. Because whenever I'd ask a girl out, she'd shoot me down. Yeah, then that Nintendo dog would come out of nowhere and start laughing at me. Stupid dog. Whenever I did get a girlfriend, I always felt the need to brag about it to other women to let them know that I was off the market. Like anytime a girl would ask me a question, I'd be like, sorry, I got a girlfriend. Most of the time, they're just like, sir, I just want to know if you wanted fries with that. My girlfriend likes fries. Put them in the bag. Put them in the bag. Wife's type person who likes to make top 5 lists of things. Like when we were dating, it was cute because the list would be like her top 5 favorite candy or her top 5 favorite cereal, you know. But now we've been married a few years, so lists have changed. Now our list consists of top 5 things that she'd do with the insurance money if I were to die. Top 5 men that she'd marry if I were to die. Top 5 ways that she would murder me. What? Now, number one on that list, though, love me to death. That's what she'd do. Yeah, I'll take that. I was going to say something else, but we're being live fed right now, so she might be watching. Move on. Anybody here like a big amusement park person? Like they love amusement parks? You, sir, you look like you love amusement parks. You're probably on an amusement park ride right now, aren't you? Yeah, right. That's right. What's your favorite amusement park, by the way? What is that? Can you say it a little louder? Arnold's Park. Okay, is that like around here? Okay. You guys ever go to like Brainerd and go to Bunyan Town or whatever, Bunyan Land or whatever that place is? I went there when I was a kid. We'll talk about that later. Anyway, it's closed. I closed it down, by the way. Arnold's Park. I gotta check that place out. All right. So my wife's like one of these Disneyland freaks. Like she's born and raised Southern California, San Diego. So she goes to Disneyland all the time. Like we have season passes. She turns into a completely different person when we go to Disneyland. Like she knows where everything is at the park. She turns into like an NFL running back as soon as we enter the park, just like knocking over little kids, right? I'm like, the kid's 11 years old. She's like, he's not even tall enough to ride Space Mountain. I'm like, who are you? Barry Sanders, settle down. Great. I like talking to married couples because I like hearing how they met, even if it was at a wedding, which is like the most boring way to meet somebody. Just kidding. Where are my other married couples that actually want to talk to me? You two right there. Where did you guys meet? At your job. Okay. What was your job? Okay, I don't know what that is. You gotta. Oh, okay, okay. So you're like, hey, can you give me an extra helping of that spaghetti? And she's like, I sure can. And it took off from there, you guys. That's how that happened. Okay, okay, that's fine. Why is she holding your baby? Is this, I don't want to go here. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on in Luverne, Minnesota. I'm not sure why she's holding their baby. No, that's fine. How long have you guys been married for? 2 years? You guys got them beat, you guys. You got them beat. Did you guys get married at this church? Yes! They got married here. It's messed up. Me too. Anybody here married longer than a decade? Okay, yeah, okay. I'm not going to talk to the pastor. He's actually minding his own beeswax. Back there. How long have you guys been married for? 17 years. There you go. There you go. You can clap for that. It's not 2 or 3 years, for crying out loud. It's worth it. My wife and I were married 12 years. After a couple of years, you're getting some really dumb arguments. Am I right, sir? What's the dumbest argument you two have ever been in? That's the right answer, you guys. He just looked at me going, nope, not going to say it. Nope. Not gonna happen. I'll tell you, my wife and I got into the dumbest argument we've ever gotten into 2 years ago. We bought a new house, moved into our new house. We got into the dumbest argument we've ever been in. My wife wanted me to get rid of my alarm clock. She's been wanting me to get rid of this thing forever. I've had this alarm clock for over 30 years, okay? It's like one of those for digital, like the first generation digital wood panel alarm clocks, you know? Like this thing lasts forever. Like I've had this thing for 30 years. I've only had my wife for like 12, okay? So, now, my wife wanted me to get rid of my alarm clock. She says it doesn't go with anything in our bedroom. I was like, it goes with my sleep pattern. Does that not matter to you at all? So we went back and forth about a half hour, 45 minutes, arguing over an alarm clock. You know what, guys? I finally won an argument, you guys. Yes, first man ever to win an argument, you guys. Yeah, I put my foot down and I bought a new alarm clock. And coincidentally enough, it's the same one that she had wanted me to get. So what a coincidence, you guys. But I won. I'm going to tell you guys, how did you guys met at a wedding. How did you guys meet at 17 years? Okay. Divorce care group. Hey, new beginnings. I like it. I don't have anything funny to say about that, so I'll move on. I guess the only thing worse would have been like we actually met at a mortuary. My ex-wife died and her ex-husband died, and that would be the only thing that I could have gone with that would have been maybe worse for me to make fun of anything. All right, moving along. Moving along. Where are you at? Okay, I got that. Oh, man. My wife and I, we actually met at church, as people should meet. not at a wedding at a church. That doesn't count, you guys. Now, we met at church. My wife was like overseeing the hospitality ministry, so the ushers and greeters, and I was a volunteer of that ministry. And we were both invited to this wedding. Like, I had been flirting with her online via email. Yeah, exactly. 2009, okay? I'm a player. That's what you did in 2009 when you were a player. A very bad player who loses every game he's ever played. So I asked her out via email. We're both invited to this wedding. This wedding was about 45 minutes north of kind of like the region where we were both kind of living in separate apartments. We weren't living together. That would have been really weird. If I would have asked her, hey, via email, even though she was my roommate, that would have been really weird. No, so we were both invited to this wedding. I asked her via email, I'm like, hey, well, would you want to be my date to this wedding? And she said no, as she should have. And then I asked her, she only lived like 5 minutes away from me, and the wedding was like 45 minutes away. And I was like, well, do you want a carpool? She said, sure. I'm like, what is wrong with you? But I was kind of mad at her, so I didn't want to drive. Like, I wanted her to waste her gas money, and I didn't want to waste any of my gas money because I was rejected by this girl because I'm very petty, if you guys haven't noticed at all. So I did this thing. It's called the game. So the game is, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10. I go, if you can come within 2 numbers, I'll drive. But if not, you have to drive. And she said, sure. Okay. So, Miss, tell me a number between 1 and 10. Nope, it was 1. You were way off. Not sure if you caught that. The point of the game doesn't matter what the person says. I'm going to lie and say something completely different. So I make her drive. We go up there, drive up there. It was like 40 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever. Had a good time to drive up. The reception was great. The reception had all these like 90s R&B, like Casey and JoJo, Usher, Brian McKnight. Some of you guys know what I'm talking about. Keith Sweat. Some of you guys know what I'm talking about. So I had all these songs in there. So on the car ride back, my non-date date has all these CDs in her car of these like 90s R&B songs. So she pops in Usher, we're singing along. She pops in Casey and JoJo. So Casey and JoJo has this song called All My Life, where there's, this is how I know God exists, you guys. There's a part in that song where Casey or JoJo, I think it's JoJo or Casey, one of the two, hits this really high note. He goes, I really love, I can't hit that note for the life of me, right? But at that moment, I hit that note, you guys. First and only time I have ever hit that high note. And my non-date date looks at me and goes, who's this guy? I go, I am Brandon Young, baby. That's who I am. That part may not have happened, but I did hit that high note. Okay. So we get back to my place. My roommate's home at the time. I go, hey, do you want to just come hang out? We're having a great time, laughing, having a good time. You just want to come out and hang out, come up to my apartment and just hang out a little bit more. Roommate's home. We're having a good time. She said, sure. So let me preface this. So my roommate at the time, it's going through one of the worst rough patches of his entire life, right? Like, he had just lost his job the week before. His roommate's going to this wedding on this non-date date with this woman he doesn't know, and he felt shamed because he wasn't invited to the wedding, even though he didn't know the bride and groom. And very weird. So my roommate's having this rough patch. So I open the door, and there's my roommate by himself, sitting on the couch, drinking a bottle of wine out of the bottle, wearing nothing but his boxer shorts, watching The Notebook. 30-year-old man, you guys. So my non-date date looks at him, looks at the TV, looks at me and goes, I love The Notebook. We sat and watched The Notebook while my roommate stayed in his underwear the whole time. It was great. So here we are, married 12 years later, so thank you very much for that. You guys are supposed to clap at that part, but that's fine. That's fine. I might just do that from here on out. After I tell a joke that doesn't do well, you guys are supposed to clap at that part. Every time. Don't laugh. All right. I love doing comedy. You get to do comedy in a lot of different places. Can meet a lot of interesting people. A couple years ago, I did a fundraiser show with a couple other heavyset comics. It was great because before the show, they had a barbecue, right? But at one point, they ran out of chicken. And I know that because the lady serving the chicken kept yelling, the chicken go, chicken go. Like, she sounded like Eric Cartman from South Park had been smoking his entire life. We got mashed potatoes, we got a corn and cob, but the chicken go. Like, at one point, she looked at us 3 heavyset comics. She goes, chicken go, you 3 guys. Like, we kidnapped all the chicken or something, right? The best is the whole car ride back. Like, we could not get this lady's voice out of our head. So anytime a song would come on the radio for this 2-hour drive back, we couldn't get this lady's voice out of our head. Anytime a song would come on the radio, we'd incorporate Chicken Gone into the song. It's like our own little hashtag Chicken Gone challenge, right? So it'd be like John Cougar and Mellencamp's Jack and Diane. Oh yeah, life goes on. Long out for the frill of the chicken gown. Elton John, your song. And you can tell everybody the chicken gown. What about Steve Perry, the former lead singer of Journey? He had that song called Oh Sherry, right? The chicken gown. That's it. That's all that part is. That's all that one is. My personal favorite, though, is Spice Girls Wannabe. If you want to eat the chicken, you got to get with my hands. Chicken will last forever, but handship never ends. So everybody now, because the chicken gown. The Chicken Gone Lady had the greatest heckle I have ever heard in my entire comedy career, too, right? Like, at one point, I told a very funny joke, and she goes, I'm laughing, but I don't know why. Yeah, maybe you got chicken poisoning. That's why you're laughing, ma'am. I don't know. Maybe you ate all the chicken. Think about that. Last weekend, I got to do comedy in a pizza place. Lifelong dream of mine, you guys. Yeah, the pizza there is pretty good too, but can we all agree there's some pizza places where the pizza is not good? Can we agree that Chuck E. Cheese pizza is not good? Yeah, I am pretty sure the main ingredient of Chuck E. Cheese pizza is foot. Pretty sure. No, I've not been to Chuck E. Cheese in years, but somehow in my new house, I've got all these little Chuck E. Cheese coins floating around everywhere, right? You can go to any junk drawer in America, and you'll find a Chuck E. Cheese coin. They don't even make these things anymore. They haven't made them for like a decade. You can go to any junk drawer. Like, I think thousands of years from now, archaeologists are going to be digging up the United States. They're going to find all these little Chuck E. Cheese coins, and they're going to be like, wow, their president was a giant rat. Which is kind of true, even if you are a Republican or Democrat. Doesn't matter which president. They're all rats, you guys, every last one of them. I love that. That's like the most bipartisan joke I have. That's the only one. I am a Christian. I'm not ashamed to admit that I'm a Christian. There's some things about being a Christian I like. There's some things that I don't like. One of the things that I don't like is this thing called a prayer circle. You guys ever heard of this before? A prayer circle is, if you're not familiar, it's the thing where people get around in a circle, they hold each other's hands, or they put their hands on each other's shoulders, and they usually take turns praying for someone or something. Like, I don't like it because I'm always the last person to go in the prayer circle. I can never think of anything original when it's my turn to go, right? Like, everyone's always like, God, I just want to come over right now and just pray for Timmy to do well in school. Like, I was going to pray for Timmy to do well in school. That was my prayer. Next person's like, God, I want to pray for Timmy's baseball team. I was going to pray for Timmy's baseball team. So now whenever it's my turn to pray, I always think the most outlandish thing that I know nobody else is ever going to pray for. I'm always like, God, I just want to come forward right now to just pray that Timmy doesn't eat all the chicken. Okay, then the chicken go. You guys ever go to one of those churches that have like the dueling old ladies who try to one-up each other in the praise department? You ever see this? Like the preacher's up there preaching, one lady chimes in, amen. Next lady's like, hallelujah. They go back and forth, praise the Lord, praise Jesus. Finally, the first lady's had enough. She goes, Hakuna Matata. Pretty sure that just means no worries for the rest of your days. What book is she reading from anyway? The Lion King James Version? Another thing I don't like about being a Christian is like those people who pray a little too long. You guys ever see these guys before when they don't know when to wrap up the prayer? They're always like this. They always go like this. Every last one of them, they go. God, we just want to come before right now, God, because God, we know, God, that you're God. And everything you do, God, is because you're God. God, we pray that Timmy doesn't eat all the chicken, God. We know that you are the great colonel in the sky, God. We pray this all in Jesus' name. Another prayer I like to pray is just end the prayer already, would you? So I got a solution to that. If you ever find yourself in that situation and someone's praying a little too long and you're holding that person's hand, start rubbing the handle a bit with your thumb. Yeah. Hands on the shoulder, go for the earlobe, you guys. I'm Brady Young. Thank you guys so much. Hope you guys have a great night. More time for John Small.
All right, let's hear it one more time for Mr. Brandon Young. And we would love to have you join us on the other side. And we've got a bunch of silent auction items over there that you can still bid on. We're going to do 10 minutes. We'll give you 10 minutes, and then we'll wrap that up. But that gives you some time to go around and check out all of the items. And I think there's some other fun stuff on the other side for you as well. I think there's ice cream, is that right? Yeah, see, I didn't want to say that and then find out I was wrong. And pie? Pie and ice cream? What am I doing up here? Yeah, so I'll meet you on the other side. I'll be the guy eating all the pie and ice cream. Did you guys have fun tonight? Thank you so much for coming out. I want to say thank you again to Main Street Financial. Also, thank you. Let's put our hands together for all of the people who helped organize this, because there was an amazing team. They deserve all the credit. And let's hear for Pastor Billy over here as well. I had a chance to meet him. He is a great dude. He and his wife both love these two. And it's got to be pretty heartwarming for you guys to look and see all these people who came out. It's amazing. So, again, if you'll join us on the other side, we're going to wrap up the silent auction here in 10 minutes. Thank you again for joining us tonight. We appreciate being here.